Hi, this is Bassam Imara from Falafel Software, and I want to show you what Babaganoush can do for your Sitefinity projects. So this is the website where you can get Babaganoush, and you'll see right here that there's a download button. Go ahead and fill out that form to get the download, or you can get it from NuGet. I'm going to show you how to use the raw download, and this is what you'll get right here. You'll get the package with the README, some licensing information, and the latest version of Sitefinity that this is available for. So if you look in here, you'll see that all the Babaganoush DLLs are in here. And if you read the instructions, all you have to do is just copy these into the bin folder of your Sitefinity web app. So I have a Sitefinity application here. It's a fresh install, so I just wanted to show you how you can get started right away. All I did was I created some pages. I got a home, about, and a few children to show the hierarchy there. Another thing is I have some news items, 5 news items in here, and also I have some images. So it's really basic. And so let's go to the front end right here, and you'll see that this page right here is just a regular home page with nothing special on it. And that's all. There's nothing, no customizations, nothing special about this site. Here is the file system for that Sitefinity web app. This should look familiar to you. And you can even see that these are all the plain files in here that came with Sitefinity. And then here's the bin folder. So all I'm going to do is just copy these right here and put them into the bin folder. It's going to ask me maybe for permission, so I'll just click OK here. And that's all you have to do. So let's go ahead and reload this Sitefinity web app and see what Babaganoush has done from here. Alright, it's done reloading. So all it's done is just done a quick compile on its own, but now to really see Babaganoush run on here, probably the best way or the easiest way to do this is check the web services, which are on by default. All the web services are after the prefix of API, so API pages, API news, API images, all those have web services available. I'll see right away that the web services do bring back an XML. This is using web API, so if you send a request asking for JSON, it will do that. And you can see the pages on here, and I have the home page right here with a nice properties on here. There's nothing that's cryptic about it. Everything that you need and nothing you don't. So we have the show and navigation, for example. We have the slug, or the URL of that page. We have the status of it, the home, and the full URL path. And then we even have the hierarchical structure. So we have the about page, and we have its children, which I have company and the team page. And so you can see the difference between URL is the full URL, and then the slug is just the name of this page. Another web service you can check out is API/news. So the 5 news items that I had in the back are here, and you can see again it's a real clean web service. I have title, I have whether it's active, the content, the slug again, and the full URL. And also with these items, I also have extra properties like categories. So you see all the categories that are in here. So I set this up as France, and you can see the parents of that category, and also the tags are available. So I put 2 tags in here, tag 1 and 2. We have author in here. So a lot of good stuff in here, and you can even get the images. So if you wanted to get the images through an API, you can get that in here, and this will return back the images with the URL and also the library that it's in. So this is in a service, something called services. We have the MIME type, the extension, and a few other things to help you build carousels or maybe a gallery. So let's take a closer look at, let's go on the back end and see where Babaganoush lives. And if you go to the administration and settings, you'll see there is a new section under advanced called Babaganoush. So we created a configuration section to configure the behavior of Babaganoush. So here's the enable web API. So you can turn off the web services, but we left them on by default. You can even enable JSON-P. So if you want your web services to be accessible by third-party applications or partners, you can activate that, and they won't have to worry about cross-domain restrictions. And also, if you look at the scripts section here, you'll see all the properties for scripts. This is the scripts path. So if you wanted to create a JavaScript application, you can create a new script folder in here and put all your script files in there. Also a startup script. So if you wanted maybe like a page load type of script, you can put that path in here, and anytime any page is loaded in the front end, that script will get pulled into the page, and all your code will run from there. jQuery is included by default. Also Kendo is included by default, and also we've added require.js on by default. These three items are a killer combo, so we felt that leaving them on by default with the web services will give you a nice head start on things. And by the way, these are being pulled from the embedded resources of Sitefinity, so there won't be any version conflicts or duplications of Sitefinity adds jQuery or Kendo for one of its own widgets. It's just going to use the same embedded resource. So now that I have these three items, let's see what I can do. And just to make it a little bit more interesting, let's add it Twitter Bootstrap. And if you like, you can add AngularJS. So let's activate Twitter Bootstrap. Click Save in here. And now if I go into my pages, let's add some content blocks on the page, and let's actually test it out and see if Twitter Bootstrap is on there. So let's go into the home page, and I'm going to add a content block underneath here, and the content I'm going to add is let's add some buttons. We'll add default button. I'll put it in the HTML so I can control the class in here. I'm going to add a default, and according to Twitter Bootstrap, they're saying add a btn that'll make it a button, and then you can add a different kinds of button flavors. So in our case, we're going to add the default. Let's also add a primary as well, and to make it really clear, let's add a danger one, which will be red. So that's all I had to do for creating these buttons, and you see right away that they've got the Twitter Bootstrap theme on there. And just to give it a little bit more of a test in here, let's put something in a well. Click save, and we see right away that it's in the well. So you can see that Twitter Bootstrap is fully available for you at this point on. And to even leverage Twitter Bootstrap even more, if you go into the layout section in here, you'll see that there's a new section in here called Bootstrap Columns, because as you probably know, with Twitter Bootstrap is fully responsive, and now you can use the 12 grid layout system. So if I drag and drop this in here, I'll get the 50-50 column, but it's using Twitter Bootstrap's 12 grid system. So I can add these in each area in here. And now if I look in the front end, I see and I look in inspect element, I'll see that it's using the Twitter Bootstrap columns. So this is 6 columns wide and a 12 grid system. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to show you was require.js and also Kendo. Let's go into the inspect element again, and I'm going to use the console right here to add some JavaScript. Now we know that we have news items in here, so what I'm going to do is actually paste a snippet here, which will add a div onto the page, onto the body, and then I'm going to make it a Kendo grid, and the data source is going to read from the news, and I'm just going to add 2 columns in here. I'll add an extra one in here just so we have a little bit more variety, and click enter, and now that's created the grid right onto the page, so we know that Kendo is activated and ready to use and ready to consume your web services. Alright, great. Let's talk a little bit about require.js. If you don't know what require.js, I suggest that you go to requirejs.org and read about it. It's AMD specifications, which is asynchronous module definition, and it will greatly reduce the complexity of large applications. You can basically modularize your JavaScript applications and create modules and put them in separate JavaScript files and pull them in asynchronously. So let's test this out. First thing is, let's go and add go ahead and add a script tag in here. Now in this JavaScript in here, what I can do is start right away with require.js, and the syntax for that, first of all, I'll put it before the closing body tag, and if I paste this right here, I'm going to require a few dependencies, and these dependencies are included. There's a few in the documentation that you'll see that are included by default. A couple of big ones, or really nice ones, is moment.js, which is a library for working with dates. Underscore is probably no stranger to you. It's for working with JavaScript collections and arrays, and working with functions and strings and all types of common utilities that you need. And actually that's a dependency that's used by many different libraries, so we've included it here. And then the Baba slash will have our own JavaScript files that we use. These are all virtually brought in from the embedded resources. So Baba slash will pull in, for example, we have an API file in here, and that will give us an API to Sitefinity's web service. So in this case, I'm pulling in 3 dependencies: moment, underscore, and API, which are mapped through these function parameters. And just to show you what it can do, for moment, I'm going to subtract 10 days from the current day. For underscore, I'm going to create an array. I got 2 items in the array, John and Jane, with an age associated with each, and I'm going to pluck out the name from here, and that will give me just a collection of the names. And then the API, I can get news by ID, and I can get the ID. I can feed it, and that will give me the web service. A few other things I can do in here is get by name, and a few other properties that are available. So let's take a look at get all news. So let's get all the news items, and once I get all the news items, when that promise is done, then I'm just gonna write it out to the console. Let's click save here, and now let's put a breakpoint so we can take a look at what the moment and underscore has done. Well, we already see right away the AJAX call has called the web service, and we see that even from the network call, the JSON has been returned. And these are the news items, and then you can feed that. That's what Kendo did actually earlier, and consume that to create the grid. Let's put a breakpoint, and in the require.js, reload this page, and now we see that moment is available to us because I pulled it in asynchronously. Same thing with underscore and the API file. And we see the API file in here. We got get blog posts, and we have get news in here, and get events, and pretty much we tried to map all the web services to here, so you wouldn't have to try to remember what the web service paths are. So if I step through that, I see that moment.js has created a nice dates that was subtracted 10 days from today. Also, here is the array that I'm going to feed into underscore, and we see that using pluck, I can pluck the name out of the people, and I just get an array of the property that I plucked out. So that's the story behind require.js and how it's included in Babaganoush. And you can add your own dependencies, and you can refer to the documentation for info on that and what kind of dependencies are included. The next thing I wanted to show was the CSharp code for Babaganoush, what it can do through Visual Studio. Let me open this in Visual Studio, and here I'll just double click this. It'll open it up. Alright, here's my Sitefinity solution here. I'm going to add an ASPX file. It can be any file, but let's just put any AXPX files so that I can view that in the front end and put a breakpoint in here. So here is the C# code, and to use Baba, probably the quickest way to get started and access to the code, there is something called Baba Managers, and all the access to the different content in Sitefinity is under here. So if you're not getting the IntelliSense, if you're not able to resolve this, what you'll have to do is add the reference to your solution. So if you went the NuGet route, it will do that automatically. Alright, so because we've added it into the bin folder, I'm gonna have to add the reference in here. I'll just browse to those DLLs that I dropped in earlier. Here's all the DLLs, and add. Click OK. Now I can resolve this, and it'll see that there's a namespace of Babaganoush. Now if I click on, if I go to Babaganoush Managers, I'll see all the content managers that I have access to, actually all the managers. So there's something called Accounts, blog posts, blogs, contents, departments, and so forth. To get all the news items, for example, I can go to the news and then I get the API for news, and I have get all, get by category, get by field, and so forth. Alright, so if we get all, and we'll put a breakpoint in there and see how it looks like. That will give you all the items in a special kind of model. The model that we saw on the web service is the same model that's used here, so it's much more slimmed down model and easier to work with. If I wanted to do some filtering, you might be inclined to just do a where clause in here and start filtering it down, but this will actually filter it in memory. So if that's okay with you, you can filter it down from here. But if you wanted to filter on the data, within the database, so for performance, then you'll notice that this is an IEnumerable. So if you wanted to ever filter large amounts of data, you actually want to filter on iQueryable. So because it's IEnumerable, the where clause is not going to reach the database. So if you wanted to filter something down, you can, there's actually a parameter. So I'm going to copy this up here, and there's a parameter in here. We see there's a lot of optional parameters. So we have provider name, and we have filter, take, and skip. So here's a filter parameter that I'm going to access. Do x lambda expression, x goes into, and then I have access to the Sitefinity model. So this is the Sitefinity model, not Babaganoush's model, and this gets passed down all the way down to the iQueryable. So you can filter by Sitefinity's allow comments or author, or you can even use the getters and setters for dynamic fields and descriptions. So you have access to the rest of the Sitefinity model properties. So we can do where authors equals Sitefinity team. Okay, and that will get you the filtered version. And let's put a breakpoint in here and run it. Alright, our breakpoint is hit, and now I'm going to step through it. And if we look at the items, we see that it's a collection of news items with our slimmed down version of the model. Alright, and now if we look at the filtered version, we should get only the items that have the author equals to Sitefinity team, and we see that it is indeed that. Alright, so that is a quick look at the Baba managers, and there's a whole lot of other information on our documentation. So I encourage you to take a look. I just wanted to give you a quick peek at things. And if you go into our home page in here and go to documentation, you'll see that there is information about the framework and how it's created and what it's doing behind the scenes, how to use Babaganoush with Twitter Bootstrap, Kendo, and Require.js, and a few tutorials that you can look through. There's also an API reference, so you can see all the available APIs that you can use and inherit from. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this, and we look forward to seeing what you can build. And if you want to get in contact with us, you go to the support tab in here, and you can either get some premium support or get some questions answered by the community at Stack Overflow. And if you have any feature requests, go ahead and fill them out here. You'll see a little light bulb at the bottom down here where you can add your own ideas. Thank you for joining me, and we look forward to seeing what you build with Babaganoush and Sitefinity.